with the help of our friends at Grab TV, we posted a national poll asking which vice presidential candidate do you feel won tonight's debate. And before I put that up, let me ask you guys, if you think Governor Walz won this debate in terms of any criteria that you choose to embrace, whether you think he was just more likable, more relatable, had better content, whatever, just you think if I had to pick a winner, I had to hit one button, either Walz or J.D. Vance. If you would say Governor Walz, raise your hand. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of you. If you would say no, I would have to say it was Senator Vance, raise your hand. Okay, that's most of the rest of you. Well, let's look at how our poll did. In our poll, wow, 91% say Senator J.D. Vance won, and 9% say Tim Walz won. That's pretty overwhelming, as it was with this group. Mm-hmm. You think that's because of just his communication skills and ability?
I'm 100%.
Composure?
Yes.
Clarity?
Yes.
On point?
Everything was there. Everything was tight, concise. He got the idea that was in his head. He could pull it out and put it right there, and you could see it. It was very clean. You can tell he's a big reader because his sentence structure is perfect as he's giving these answers that should be longer and really choppy. Sometimes I get kind of choppy because I start thinking up in my head too. His were clean. Everything was just tight and concise. Really good, really good.
Yeah, and most of y'all agreed. Now, let me ask you, how many of you think this is, as it's been talked about, one of the most important presidential elections we've had in a long time? If you think this one really matters more than most, raise your hand. Okay. That's most of you. All right, why? Why do you think this one's so important? Somebody tell me why you think that. Stand up in the middle. There you go, say your name and go.
I'm Jonah, and I believe that this is one of the most important presidential elections because so many people have such polarizing views on this subject, mostly because of how Donald Trump has taken over the idea of politics and debating and made it so polarizing and making it so you're one side or the other. You have to agree with me on one sort of thing or the other. Honestly, I'm seeing that here tonight because so far all I've seen from you is a biased just depiction of Walz and Vance, pseudoscience, like body language thing, instead of talking about the real issues that we're talking about tonight. I'm not hearing any of that from you tonight, and that's disappointing for me specifically, and I'm assuming from others here as well.
Yeah.
And
why don't you fix that by telling us what the biggest issues are that you think should be discussed?
I would say climate crisis is a big one. I would say immigration is a big one. We haven't talked about that at all. They did in the debate tonight, and I believe that while you say J.D. Vance might have been more confident about it, I believe that he is a lot more dangerous when it comes to immigration and stuff about this. And you want to talk about Walz refusing to answer questions properly, but J.D. Vance continuously denied any sort of, or he avoided the question of the militarization of his immigration policies and how dangerous those could be, separating families who have immigrants born here and then have a child who was born here legally, separating them. And I think that's very dangerous, especially leaving that up to the military and leaving instead of legislature, which the Biden administration has tried to do, but has been blocked by Trump's Supreme Court. I also believe that the ongoing genocide in Gaza and Lebanon and the Congo is very important, and we didn't talk about that. I assume that a good amount of people of your audience don't care about that, but
Well, that's kind of judgmental. You don't know who's in the audience, so
yeah.
Why don't you lighten up on people you don't know?
I've been a big fan of your show for quite a long time, but over the last several years, I've seen that the more conservative side of the audience has definitely taken you've taken a liking to them, and that's why tonight is pretty biased. If you have to admit that's pretty biased. And
well, actually, I don't.
I would love to hear why.
I'm sure you would. I think that. You let the candidates talk about what they want to talk about, and they chose not to dive into the climate crisis, as you call it.
As I call it.
Yes.
You don't believe there's a climate crisis.
What, wasn't that your word?
You don't. Yes, there is a climate crisis, and I believe that Trump and Vance believe that is a hoax, because they even asked him if he believes it if it was a hoax, and Vance ignored that question. Says, "Oh, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that at all." He did say he didn't want to talk about it. Yes, he said that if you believe and all this stuff, but obviously he doesn't believe that.
Yeah. Okay, so you brought all of those things
Yes.
up now, so they have had a voice here tonight. So thank you for
You're welcome.
contributing that. All right, who else? What have we not talked about, or the candidates didn't talk about, that you would like to hear talked about? What do you need to hear from these guys that you haven't heard from? Yes, sir. Stand up. We'll get you a mic right quick.
Edgar?
Edgar, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree about something, maybe not everything, but definitely immigration. I think they could have talked a little bit more about it. The crisis that's going on in both south and north borders, what they're facing. And I don't know, I just wanted to hear more about it,
Yeah. And, when we talk to people nationally, they say their number one concern and consideration is affordability, being able to take care of their family and being secure in that. And the second thing they talk about, the thing that's number two on the list, is security. Do they feel safe and secure in their life and home? And border is part of that. So those are the two big things that they talk about. Way third down on the list, the third, fourth, and fifth things are a big step down from those two things. Is that true with you? What would be your third thing?
I think it just depends on, what group of people you're talking to. I'm from Los Angeles. There's a big cultural mix of people. Mm-hmm. And it's a very important subject that we want to discuss. We want to know more, maybe not in other states, but, I can only talk for myself.
Yeah.